This video will show you how and why I season my Banneton. I use a mix of 50% plain unbleached flour and 50% rice flour. Make it up into a container like this and it'll be ready to use whenever you like. Many people will use one or the other, but I mix the two together. The reason for this is that if you use plain flour by itself, it'll absorb the liquid in your dough and it'll become sticky. Then you'll end up with your dough sticking to your Banneton. You can use rice flour, which is great, but it sticks to nothing. So it doesn't stick to your Banneton either. So when your dough's proving, it'll prove up and there'll be no rice flour at the rim of your Banneton and it'll stick around the rim. Making a mix of 50-50 solves all those issues. The issue with your loaf sticking to your Banneton is that when you turn your proved loaf out, it gets caught. This will damage the shape of your loaf, but worse still, it can cause it to collapse, which is not ideal. The first thing I have to do is clean up my Banneton. I use this brush, it's got stiff bristles and I keep it aside just for this purpose. You'll need to do this every so often, clean it up as best you can and then we'll start over. If you're working with a new Banneton, you'll need to wipe it out with a damp cloth. Otherwise, just clean your Banneton up as best you can and then with a damp pastry brush, wet it with water. You don't need too much water, just wet it all over with the pastry brush. What we're looking to do is make it a tacky surface so that you can stick your 50-50 mix to it. So grab your 50-50 mix, pour some inside and then roll it inside the Banneton. You want to make sure this is quite thick, and then in between proving loaves I quite often add a little bit more. If you forget and your loaf sticks, you'll be sorry. So keep rolling it around and pressing it in with your fingers and make sure that you get it in every crevice. Some Bannetons come with a cloth insert. I've given them up. They tend to go mouldy after a while and you don't want to use them after that happens. You can use a tea towel dedicated to this, but if you really don't need to use anything at all, as you can see. Now I leave my Banneton in an airy place to dry, but if it's really damp I pop it in an oven when it's cooling down, but remember to leave the door slightly ajar to let out any steam.